Hi, my name is Aya. You're watching Aya Reads, and I'm here to do another recommendations video, and this time it's going to be workplace romances. So workplace romance is a trope that I find very, very believable because if you're getting older, like you spend the most time at work, so it is very realistic to find your partner at work. And I would love to find my partner at work. The only problem is that I am a psychologist and most psychologists are women. So yeah, I work with mostly women. But anyway, so far I've not found the love of my life in the workplace, but I do really love reading about it in books. So this is going to be a mixture of different type of tropes. So some of them are actually co-workers in like the normal sense, but in some of them they actually work for either the hero or heroine in some capacity. Excuse the lighting, the sun decided to make an appearance. So let's see if I can do something with my settings. So I have 8 contemporary romances and 2 historical romances. The first one is Twisted Hate by Anna Huang. So this is a hate to lovers romance. Like this is the ultimate hate to lovers romance because they actually start having sex when they're still enemies. So you follow Josh and Jules, and Jules is actually Josh's sister's best friend, and he thinks that she's not good for his sister at all. She constantly, in his opinion, gets his sister into trouble, and they have hated each other ever since they first met. She finds it unreasonable that he hates her even though he doesn't know her. And like I said, I already explained to you the reasons why he hates her. They're both very attractive and they both can see that the other one is attractive as well. And then where the workplace romance comes in is she has an internship. So she's a lawyer, he's a doctor, and she actually has an internship at the hospital. Or at this, yeah, sort of like in the hospital, where he also volunteers. Which is how they constantly get in contact at work. And that is, I think that is one of the reasons why they start hate banging. This is really good. This is my second favorite in the Twisted series by Anna Huang. I thought this was such a good enemies to lovers book. And I did really enjoy the forced proximity of their workplace environment as well. I thought that was such a good way to create the forced proximity. First of all, to force them together so they actually have sex, but also to realize about each other that there's more to them than meets the eye. For Josh to realize that she isn't just this bad girl that gets his sister into trouble all the time. There's more to her. And also for her to get to know him more. I really, really love this book. Flawless by Elsie Silver. So this is a case where she kind of works for him in a capacity. They don't really have the same type of job, even though in Twisted Hate that wasn't the case as well. Anyway, moving on. This is about a bull rider named Rhett, and there's another lawyer named Summer. She works for her dad's company, and he has this sports agency, and her dad is his agent. And he recently has been getting into trouble because he said something bad about one of his sponsors. So his agent sticks his daughter on him to kind of become his babysitter. So she actually has to travel with him to keep him in line. And that is where the workplace romance comes in because she's working. Well, they're both working on the road, but her job is to actually stop him from saying things that could get him into trouble. And like I said, they're on the road, a lot of forced proximity. There's a one-bed trope in here as well, which is to die for. I think this is a very good workplace romance. Forced proximity is there. And there's also the forbidden aspect to it because she technically works for him and she needs to keep him in line, which is going to be difficult if she's falling in love with him. This is the first book in the Chestnut Springs series, which is a very, very popular series. Yeah, I think this is a great start to a very, very good series. The Frat Boy by Nikki Sloan. So this is a very interesting workplace romance. Basically, you follow 2 college students. One of them is a fraternity and one of them is in a sorority. And they have these annual games where they compete. And she accuses his frat of cheating, which starts a giant mud fight. And since everybody thinks that they were the ones, well, I mean, technically they were the ones that started it, they both get kicked out of their fraternity and their sorority. So they both need a place to live. And they both answer this ad where they could make adult films in exchange for a free place to live and also to make money. So they, like I said, they both answer this ad not knowing, and then they both have to audition, which is when they find out that they both applied, and their audition is basically to have sex with each other and having them film it. So they both get hired, they both are living in this place and they have to make adult films, usually with each other and with other people. And that is where the workplace romance comes in, because they are working, like their job is to, you know, have sex with each other or have sex with other people. And while they're doing that, feelings ensue, obviously. And yeah, they do, like from the very beginning, like from their first audition, they do find each other attractive. He falls first. I thought this was such a good book. This is one of my favorite books I read this year. I'd highly, highly recommend it. It is very, very steamy, obviously, since it's about adult films. Next is Mile High by Liz Tomfort. This is the first book in the Windy City series by her. And in this book, you follow Xanders and Stevie. Xanders is a professional hockey player, and Stevie is a flight attendant, and she's actually a flight attendant of his team's private airplane. So anytime they have to fly, she's one of the flight attendants. And he's used to women fawning all over him. She is one of the only women who doesn't. And one of the reasons is because her brother is actually a professional basketball player, which his book is the second book, and I fucking love him. Anyway, it's not about him, it's about Xanders and Stevie. So yeah, there's once again it's a forbidden romance, because the flight attendants are not allowed to fraternize with the hockey players. But he's very intrigued by her because she's forbidden fruit, and also she doesn't fawn over him like all the other women do. So he makes it his mission to kind of tease her, to make her life miserable while she's working for him. So he constantly asks her for these ridiculous things that he could get himself. I do have to say, it is all in jest, like, and she gives it back as hard as, you know, like she pushes back, and she really doesn't let him walk all over her, which I really loved and enjoyed in this book. But yeah, obviously the workplace part here is that she's actually working for his team, and she's not allowed, since she's the flight attendant, they're not allowed to be together. But yeah, very, very good start of an amazing series, in my opinion. Next is Look the Part by Jewel E. Ann. This is a very interesting workplace romance, because technically these two do not actually work together. Basically, he's a lawyer and he owns this entire building, and the place above his office is empty, so he decides to rent it out to this woman who's a therapist. He doesn't know that she's a musical therapist though, so once she's all settled in, all he hears is music and banging noises. So that's when he realizes that she's a music therapist, and he makes it his mission in life to kick her out, and she refuses to. And he's a single dad, and he has an autistic son who really kind of almost like falls in love with her too. Like he starts taking her music therapy lessons, and it becomes harder and harder for him to kick her out. And, you know, they start to bond and fall in love. I really love this book so much. If you love Heartless by Elsie Silver, which is the second book to Flawless, I think you're really gonna love Look the Part. I really love it. It's a very, very good Grump Sunshine book. And like I said, these two technically don't work together, but they interact a lot while they're both working. So that's why I thought it was fitting to include this one. And like I said, it's not very hyped, but I really love it. And like I said, it is very similar to other very hyped books, in my opinion. Next is a very big one. It's The Love Hypothesis. I know a lot of you have probably already read it, but if you haven't, this is another chance for you to do so. This is a workplace in STEM romance. Basically, you have this PhD candidate, Olive, and this professor named Adam. He's not her professor though. Her best friend wants to date her ex, and she's okay with it, but her best friend is like, no, that's girl code, I cannot do that. So in order to convince her best friend that she's moved on, she kisses the first guy she sees, which is Adam. And they have to fake date. And he agrees, because what she doesn't know is that he's been pining for her for years, which I love that. I love that part so much. So yeah, the fake dating romance. It was a very, very good fake dating romance. I really enjoyed it. And yeah, like a lot of people really love this book for good reasons, in my opinion. And yeah, like I said, the workplace romance, they both work at this like university. They don't really interact at all, but she obviously, when she's at work, her friends are his PhD students as well. So she hears from her friends that he's not really a very nice guy, and they do see each other at work. And yeah, one of the reasons they're fake dating also is because he needs he needs money for his research, but the university has frozen his funds because they think he's a flight risk. So he also wants to fake date because he thinks that if they see him have a stable relationship with a woman that lives in the town they're in, they see him as less of a flight risk. So they will unfreeze his money. So they both have good reasons for wanting to fake date, and I really loved it so much, and it's a very good workplace romance in my opinion. The X-Talk by Rachel Lynn Solomon. So this is they're both radio show hosts, and she has been working there for a while now, and he's this like new upcoming radio show host that gets like pretty much anything handed to him. And she comes up with this show where the kind of exes talk about where like things went wrong in their relationship, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, and they will deliver relationship advice. Her boss doesn't really want to hire another person, so he thinks it's a good idea for them to pretend to be exes and give relationship advice. So they do that. So it's sort of like fake dating in a way, but obviously they fall in love in the meantime. So they are co-workers in the radio place. Obviously they are rivals. Yeah, a workplace that you don't really get to see that often. I think this is my only like radio show host romance, but it was very good. And yeah, obviously troubles are gonna ensue if they fall in love with each other while pretending to be exes. But that was a great part of this book as well. Book Lovers by Emily Henry. Once again, not really your conventional workplace romance. Basically, she's an agent for this very famous author, and he's an editor, and he really wants to edit her newest book. And they're both in this small town. So that is kind of like the whole workplace part. They're both involved in getting this author published. So I know it's kind of like flimsy. They're not actually really co-workers, but they do talk a lot about like both their jobs, and she has a say a little bit in how he's editing the story, and she's really protective of her author, and he's known for being kind of harsh while editing. I did like that whole aspect of seeing the other side of the publishing industry. Obviously I'm a reader, so I just I grab a book and read it, and I don't really think about everything else that comes along with that. Obviously, you know the author, and sometimes I will listen to like an interview, but you don't really get to see the editors or the agents or stuff like that. So that was a very interesting part of this story as well. And last but not least, my two historical romances. The first one is Married by Morning by Lisa Kleypas. I don't know if you can see that. I'll just have a picture up here. This is the fourth book in the Hathaway series, and it's my favorite in the Hathaway series. Basically, this is about Catherine and Leo, and Catherine is a paid companion, so not really a governess. She basically, Leo is the heir, and he's also the Viscount, I'm pretty sure. And his two youngest sisters need a paid companion to get them through the London season, to find their husbands. And while he was away in France because his backstory is that he has been struggling with a lot of things. He's an alcoholic, he's doing drugs, he's spending money that he doesn't have. So after the first book, he gets sent away to France with one of his sisters to kind of recover. So in this book, he's back. Well, he was back in earlier books, but he's back, and when he's back, he realizes that his sister has hired this paid companion, and this is a hate to love because they cannot stand each other. He thinks she's uptight, she thinks he's this typical bad boy that she has no interest in being around. Technically, he's her boss, but she doesn't give a fuck. Like, they're constantly bickering. She doesn't care that he's the one paying her. Like, the hate to love, their banter, especially in the second, but most especially in the third book, was top notch. So I was very much looking forward to reading their story. I would say if you're going to read this book, read the other ones as well, because first of all, they are amazing as well, and also especially their story gets built up so much in the second and third book. Like, by the time you get to this fourth book, you're salivating for their story. So yeah, technically this is a workplace romance, but she knows he'll never fire her, and also he's not really technically the one that hired her. And since the Hathaways are a very close-knit family, she knows that his sisters and his brother-in-law would never stand for him actually firing her. So that's why she feels free to say whatever she wants to him. Such a good book. So good. Like the Hathaways are one of my favorite series of all time and my favorite fictional family. And this one is my favorite of the bunch. So yeah, definitely pick it up. My 10th recommendation is The Governess Game by Tessa Dare. So this is a typical governess story, a single dad nanny story. You follow Chase and Alexandra, and he's become the guardian of two little girls, but he's also like this rake, basically this playboy. They met years ago at this bookstore, and she never stopped thinking about him. And then one day he needs a governess and she applies, and these little girls are the cutest little girls you'll ever see. Like, they obviously are very traumatized. They constantly do things that are really weird, but it's kind of part of them needing attention, them missing their parents, and they fall in love. But she's scared because he's always been known as this rake, this womanizer, and she really wants to protect her heart, but also falling in love with him. So this is part of the Girl Meets Duke series. And this actually is not really my favorite because The Duchess Deal is my favorite, which is the first book. But I did really enjoy this story because I do love single dad nanny romances. And I really liked her because she was like this scientist and constantly doing the sciencey stuff. Plus the little girls, really, I love them very much. So yeah, and obviously the workplace is that she is the governess for his wards and he's paying her to do so. And also forced proximity. I think she also lives at his house. So very good workplace romance. So those were all my recommendations for workplace romances. Definitely let me know in the comments below if you've read any of them or if you want to read any of them. Also, I would really love to know if some of you have had your own workplace romance. Definitely let me know in the comments below and let me live vicariously through you. And if you have your own workplace romance recommendations, also leave those in the comments below because I really love this trope and I would really love more of them. And I really hope you enjoyed this video. Definitely let me know by leaving me a like if you did. And thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day and I'll talk to you later. Bye.